あんまり時間がかかるようならあれだが。
大丈夫です。俺何年かかっても吸血鬼になるつもりなんで。え、なんすか？
あ、
As you know, I am always calling Call of the Night a masterpiece. And this episode kind of just proves that even more. The end of the episode where it cuts off right at the moment where Yamori was like, oh, I'm willing to put in the work even if it takes years. And then we got our girl Nazan over here like, oh, like obviously that there's something super hidden. And the fact that I was like waiting, I was like, what's the moment that is going to specifically happen, and it didn't happen, is proof in the pudding of such fantastic writing, and why I continue to call like this specific one like a masterpiece and exactly what it is. And it's because we were waiting with that bated breath to be able to see the ending of what's next. Now ultimately I think we can all kind of put two and two together, and if you haven't got there yet, let me take you on the journey. I'm thinking that there's a specific like timeline that's kind of set in stone once you're bitten. Now, I don't think that Yamori is going to die. Reason being is because Nasuna always kind of makes it a habit of luring in people via kind of her massage services and the different services that she offers. She always lures people in to essentially have that line of blood right there. And she has bitten a lot of people before. What I'm thinking is that there might be like a certain timeline to where you can or cannot turn into a vampire. So there might be like a timeline into which, okay, if you're bitten on the 1st, well, you can't be turned after like the 30th. You might have like 30 days or like 60 days or something like that. That there might be like a legit concrete timeline to where you just simply cannot turn, and after that you're basically just food. Now again, I don't know if that's the case. The opposite side of it is it could also be a situation to where instead of that being the case, instead of death or dying or anything else, it could be one of those cases to where the girls that are congregated there are just simply unhappy in the situation, that they're just unhappy that it could potentially take years, or at least what Yamori is saying is that he's thinking that it could potentially take years for this to happen. They're probably worried about that timeline of like, no, you guys need to make this happen like ASAP kind of thing. So that's kind of the different angles that I'm kind of taking on that ending there when it comes to this episode of Call of the Night. Now, outside of that, I was very interested into meeting the other vampires. The one interesting thing, I guess I could say, or the one notable thing that I could say is it's very interesting. Also, it's very anime, of course, that all the vampires just happen to be females, that it just happens to all be female vampires. It's like, okay, well, if they produce offspring, if they produce a lot of other vampires, where's all the male vampires at? Is it just one of those like, oh, well, this is just a fan service piece of it, is it would just end up being all females? Or is it something to where you have these group of vampires and offspring? It's kind of like a mother, right? Like offspring can only come from female vampires. Maybe they can't come from male vampires. I don't know. There's a lot of things that we just simply don't know, that it could be either implied or it's just simply, again, one of those things that this was just a moment of fan service with all of the female vampires, including the one that Yamori came across. And I think we can all kind of agree that when you saw that blonde-haired girl across the street, immediately, I was like, okay, we're going to get to know who that person is, because, you know, she was the only colored one of all of the different strangers that happened to be there. But also, when she finally came closer, we saw her little snaggle tooth, which indicated she was a vampire. So it was basically like an immediate thing that we were able to really see with her being a vampire. It's like, how, at this point, how did KOU not really like, how did he not piece that together? Like, yo, this girl kind of looks like Nazuna, right? She is extremely pretty, kind of looks like Nazuna. has playthings describe the men that she seduces as playthings. So it's like, KOU should have put these two and two together a little bit quicker. But he didn't get there. He's a little bit slow. He was focused on his soda. He's a curious fellow. That curiosity could end up getting him killed, much like he almost got killed this episode. But definitely one of those things that I was like, okay, that's a very sexy character. I liked her quite a bit. And I think the last thing I'll say is I love on how protective Nazuna is of KOU. I love how protective she is of KOU. I love how she lost her crap at KOU, potentially being bitten. I like how she kind of keeps tabs on him. I like how she protected him, and I like how she was basically like, yo, I will kill all you snitches if you guys even come close to him once again. But she's definitely kind of like going through that she's walking that vampire tightrope. It seems with the vampire community, it seems that there is a vampire community, but she's definitely walking that tightrope. And it seems that she has the other thing is she seems that she hasn't turned anybody seemingly ever since she has been a vampire, which again, we don't know how long that's been, whether it's been, a year, 10 years, 20, 50, 100 years. We don't know what that timeline is. But things we learned is she hasn't turned anybody within that timeline that she's been a vampire. And the second thing is we don't know on how long this vampire community has existed and how they kind of know that information about each other, because you imagine that there's just a ton of vampires kind of like spread throughout Japan and seemingly probably the world. So overall, very, very, very good episode. Again, it proves again that it's a masterpiece. By the way, we got a little bait and switch with the ending of the episode. They really pulled it off with a lot of glee to make us mad, to make me mad, to go like, yo, just give me just like 30 more seconds to that episode. It would have been perfect. But now I'm very excited for next week into seeing, okay, what does their exasperation at the end really entail? So let me know what you guys thought of this episode down in the comments below. As always, I appreciate you guys being here. Apologies for this video being late. A lot of things came up this week with the normal day job on what pays the bill and actually keeps the lights on. I wish it was YouTube, but unfortunately that's not the case. So, shout out in the comments below, engage with the video, leave a like before you guys leave, and I'll see you guys next week for more Call of the Night on time. All right, my friends, peace.